All right, welcome back to another episode of the Kartercast. I'm your host, Karter Baughan. With me, as always, Connor and Chase. We are brought to you by SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Use code KarterCast, $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required. Terms and conditions do apply. Use code KarterCast at SeatGeek today. Download the app or go to SeatGeek.com for your next sporting event or concert. All right, let's get into the show today. Celtics up 3-0. The series is over. It's done. It's dusted. I don't care if the Mavs win the next three. It's over. The Celtics are going to be the NBA champs. They're up 3-0. Overall thoughts, Chase, Celtics fan. We see the hat.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited as a fan, but I'll leave that out for today's episode. I'll save that for when we get the ring. Boston's better. We've been saying it the whole time. I think this is a pretty disappointing showing if you're a Mavericks fan, right? After watching your role players and us talking about the role players being so good the entire playoffs, the magic really has worn out here. Kleber scared to shoot. Derrick Jones Jr. scared to shoot. The only one who's willing to take shots outside of Kyrie and Luka seems to be P.J. Washington
and Tim Hardaway
Jr., who is having a hard time hitting the rim right now. And so if I'm a Mavericks fan, I'm feeling pretty upset at those guys. I'm yelling at my TV, right? And I'm looking at them like it's kind of their fault. And we're going to talk a lot about Luka and Kyrie here, obviously, but I wanted to start there because that was the reasons for Dallas' success. Obviously, you have two amazing players, but you got to have the supporting cast to get it done. All those guys, most of those guys have been very disappointing. And that's credit to Boston for good defense, right? And for just like the most favorable matchups you can have on this team. But no one stepped up. PJ's had some decent games. But other than that, literally no one has stepped up. Lively's been disappointing. Gafford hasn't been what he was. I could go on and on about everyone else on the Mavericks. And
Lively was good game 3. He was good last night.
Yeah.
He was okay. You're right. He was better.
Double plus 800. Double plus 800 was good.
Yeah, I was about to say. He was good last night. I mean, he had, 11 and 14 last night? That's a great game.
You're right. I mean, he played good. He wasn't a difference maker, though, right?
He was. He was making big plays. He was getting big-time rebounds, tip-outs, especially during that run in the fourth quarter. I think he was a pretty big difference maker in that. But, like I said, nobody else.
As a series. Yeah, and
as a series as a whole,
impactful.
He was terrible in games 1 and 2. He was awful.
Yeah. And so, I just wanted to start there. The role players, awful. And if I'm a Dallas fan, I'm pretty this is not what I just watched, right? Because this is not the team we watched through the first 3 series. And it's got to be frustrating for the whole organization. Luka, I'm sure, not getting much help.
Yeah, Connor, overall thoughts?
Yeah, so I'll bounce off what Chase just said about the role players and the bench and stuff, and honestly the coaching as a whole. Boston has identity. It seems like they know what they are. Even with Porzingis out, they have a pretty firm top 7 guys they went to, and then last night Mazzulla going to Tillman over Luke Cornett was a big deal. Look at these numbers. Tillman was +9, Sam Hauser +16 off the bench. Meanwhile, Jason Kidd throwing, crap at the wall. Tim Hardaway Jr. -16, Maxi Kleber -13 in 8 minutes. So it's that's the difference right there is Boston has a lot more guys that they trust. They have an identity. They know what they want to do. And the main point I wanted to harp on is coming into the series especially, and then especially again after game 1, we were like, all right, if Dallas needs to have a chance, Kyrie has to have a great game. Kyrie has to have a 30, 35-point game at some point in the series, and Porzingis' health. Those 2 factors will determine if this series is competitive. What do we get? Porzingis goes out with an injury, misses a game, and that same game, Kyrie puts up 35. Far and away the best game of the series. And guess what happens? Dallas still loses. When both those things happen on the same game and Dallas still loses, Boston's just the better team. They're more talented. It's dumb analysis like you always say, Carter, but they just have more talent. They have a better identity. They play together. And Joe Mazzulla is out-coaching Jason Kidd this series. He is.
Yeah, he is. 100%. Joe Mazzulla, this is a big series for everybody on the Boston Celtics. Joe Mazzulla has been phenomenal. Jaylen Brown has hit big shots and big moments.
Here we go.
Drew Holiday's been awesome. I'm not even gonna I'm not. We'll get into the Tatum stuff in a little bit. Tatum's been good, but fourth quarter Tatum. We'll get into that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, like you said, Connor. I think it's dumb analysis, but it's just the facts of the Celtics are just so much better than the Mavericks. When you were doing the series preview, you said it multiple times. You said 1 through 6, 1 through 7. I'm taking the Celtics without question by a mile. It's not even close. When you're comparing P.J. Washington to Drew Holiday or Derek White, It's not even a debate. They're so much better. And credit to the Celtics for winning without Porzingis last night too. They were last night proved they were winning the series with or without Porzingis. That didn't matter. And they're just a much better team. And we've said it 1,000 times already. The Dallas Roll guys didn't step up, and also we can do this part now. Luka didn't step up either.
Oh, I have numbers on that. Listen to this. So 3 games so far in the series. Luka in the fourth quarter. First 3 so let me rephrase that. Of these 3 games, in the first 3 quarters, Luka's had 81 points on 54% shooting from the field. In the fourth quarters of these 3 games, total 8 points on 20% field goal percentage for Luka. Total of 3 fourth quarters, 8 points. We're gonna rag on Tatum, but Luka hasn't been doing much. What was the narrative going into this series? Honestly, it's the reason Karter even picked the Mavs. It's in a close game in the fourth quarter, I want Luka with the ball no matter what. And I do still feel that way for the most part. I'm not faulting you for saying that, but he's been abysmal in these fourth quarters as well. So I don't want to give him a scotch-free pass because, number one, he hasn't been scoring in the fourth. Number two, his defense is a complete liability. He's like a traffic cone out there. Boston puts him in every single action.
Yeah, and also they've also been down 20 points in every fourth quarter at some point.
Yeah, that is true.
So I don't and Chase, I'll let you go here in a sec. I was and this is not making excuses for Luka in any way, shape, or form. This is a big knock on him actually. Where how much of this is just flat out conditioning? He's just not like this offseason, we're oh, Luka, he's finally, he's hitting his stride. He's a lot more healthy. He looks a lot more lean. He looks ready. He's ready to go 48 minutes a game and whatnot. And I just don't think his stamina and his fitness, I just don't think he's there. I don't think he's healthy enough. Not injured. He might be a little bit injured or whatnot, but he's just got to get more fit. I think that's really what it comes down to. And I feel we saw this with LeBron in 2011. LeBron had to step up a level in the offseason to get to that next level of being fit. And we saw Jokic before 2 years ago. He had to do this. And I think he's just got to have an intense offseason where he gets a lot more fit and lean, I guess. Chase.
Yeah, I love the offseason tweets. You can always count on the Ben Simmons is back in the lab and the Luka's looking skinny.
Yeah, well,
there in Slovenia.
The Ben Simmons tweets, I cannot tell if they're ball sack tweets or not. Every single time. If you're Ben Simmons back in the lab, and it'll be from a legit account. I'm that's still ball sack. I think the legit account got ball sack.
Yeah, and then you always get the Luka ones. And it just hasn't happened. Look, and I was texting, in our group chat earlier in the game, right? Luka's off to a hot start. The Mavs jumped out to about, I think, a 13 or 15 point lead. And Luka's kind of cooking. And I said, I think this is Boston's game plan. I think they're fine to let Luka do this right now and go one-on-one. And yeah, he's cooking. But let's keep putting him in action on the defensive end for him. And let's just let him get tired. And I think that's kind of what has happened all 3 games. And it's not an excuse for Luka because, dude, you're an NBA player. This is the NBA Finals. If you are getting gassed by the end of the game, that's a problem. He's never played this many games in a season in his life, right? This is the furthest he's ever gone in the postseason. Maybe that has a little bit to do with it. Maybe for most of Dallas, right? Save Kyrie, that's has something to do with their performance here. But in the fourth quarter comeback they just had, right, being down 21 and being able to go on a 22-2 run, Luka, I think, had only 2 of those points, right? He was getting good action, right, taking the attention, finding the guys. But the driver of that comeback was Kyrie Irving, who seemed to come alive in the fourth, right, and understood the moment and what he had to do and saw the opportunity, right? And Luka, if he doesn't foul out, maybe he does, and maybe we have a different conversation about how he closed out those last 4.5 minutes. But he made a mistake. Right.
He fouled out. That's
multiple.
Exactly.
That's the thing. We can be oh, well, if he would have played, he would have closed out. It's no, the knock should be he took a dumb foul. Brian Windhorst was very justified in his post-game rant where Luka, that's the dumbest play ever. He wasn't even close to being set. Look, as a bigger person myself, where I like to play lazy defense in basketball, I'm the guy that's hey, 2 threes out. What do we say, fellas? After 4 games of pickup.
Yeah, exactly. It's 4-3, and it's let's set back in zone.
Yeah. Let's go zone, fellas. I don't want to guard this guy. But I understand what he did there because he was clearly just tired. He was clearly like, I'm not doing this. And he tried to play old man cheap defense where he'll just be like, I'll just like body check a little bit. I'll just like bump a little bit. I'll use your chest and your stomach to keep the guy in position just so you don't have to move your feet. And it was pure laziness on defense.
Yeah, you know what the worst is, Carter? Is when we would play 4-on-4, and then we'd be like, how about a 2-2 zone? Like, let's go 2-2 zone. It's 4-on-4.
Shout out the 2-2 zone.
Oh, man.
Shout out the triangle or the diamond.
Luka, though, I mean, Chase, you mentioned this a little bit. When Dallas led 25-12 at the 4:48 mark in the first quarter, they came out firing. We knew they'd come out hot with a lot of energy. Shout out Dallas first half. But they came out hot with a lot of energy. And then Boston went on an 18-6 run to close the quarter. For Dallas to play that well and then come out firing like that and only be up, 1 after the quarter without Porzingis, I feel like the writing was kind of on the wall. It's like if Dallas can throw that huge knockout punch, that huge blow like that, and then Boston can just rally and then come right back in the same quarter, the writing was kind of on the wall. And even during that Dallas comeback, I was like, I'm about maybe 20% confident they pulled this game out. Like, I really didn't have that many reservations about them winning that game. Like, in my back of my mind, I was like, Boston's been in control the whole time. Don't think they're going to let this one slip away. Like, I didn't, even though Boston had all these late game struggles, I wasn't worried. And I don't know if that's wrong or not.
No, it's true. And it was so clear to me. Like, I texted Carter. I was like, amazing Kyrie half, Luka hot start, Celtics down 1 at half. Like, this is
right.
This is wraps. It's like Pokemon, and Dallas has one good card and they play it right away. But then Boston just keeps hitting you with their like good cards. You can't keep up because there's just too many. It's too many.
No. Every single game has gone the same way too, where and it's just been like game 1, Celtics kind of dominated early, and like the Mavs had that fake comeback, and then it was Celtics win by 20, whatever. And then game 2, the Celtics go up, they're up 15-20. Mavs had that fun little comeback, but Celtics still win. And then same thing last night. The comebacks have just gotten more extreme as the series have gone on. Like every single halftime. Well, this first game 1 halftime, you're like, okay, Celtics are just murdering them. Like, this is Porzingis insane game. But game 2 and game 3 halftime, it was, I think Dallas is down 4 in game 2 and up 1 in game 3. There's not one point where if you're a Mavs fan, you're like, we just played amazing and the Celtics are winning this game, no problem, because the Celtics were playing a C- D+ game in the first half of game 2 and game 3, and they were still they were up 4 in game 2 and only down 1, and the Mavs probably played a B+ A- game.
I mean, I think that comes down to identity. Like, I think that's literally what it is the Celtics know who they are. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's as much identity or it's just they're just flat out more talented, and they
are
just have
more
so
talented.
many better players.
But here, like, look at this number. Like, they shot 46 threes last night in game 3. That's tied for the second most ever in an NBA Finals game. But I didn't bat an eye because that's what they've done all season. Is they've chuck up 45, 50 threes a game, and they hit what, 17 of them last night? Dallas only shot 25. So it's like, okay, even though the percentages are pretty similar, if Boston puts up 21 more threes than Dallas, it's just like, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter talking about this. It's just math. It is math. It's like, if you shoot that many more threes with the most talented players in the world and guys as skilled as Boston's starting 5, you're going to win. You're going to score more points off those 3-point attempts. That's just what it is. And that's the thing about identity is Boston, even in the NBA Finals, where it'd be so easy to be like, oh, man, we need to tweak this. We need to go to this matchup. We need to hunt this matchup more. We need to get Tatum more involved so he's the number 1 guy. And, like, we need that narrative to go. They don't even do that. It's like, we're going to play our game. We're going to do what we did during the regular season. We're going to chuck up 53s, and we're going to stay true to our identity. So I do think it's a little bit of identity piece there.
Yeah, I'm with Connor. Like, I'm with both of you because, like,
We're
Boston's
saying the same thing, I think.
Yeah, Boston's roster is crazy. But I do admire the way Boston's been able to, like, the stuff of them letting Dallas come back and the horrible offense for 8 minutes is bad. And we're going to get into that, I'm sure, when we talk about Boston's fourth quarter. But their ability throughout all these playoffs, right? They've done this, and it's like, again, like, you shouldn't really let the Pacers doing this to you or the Cavs or the Heat. But their ability to respond and close out these games has been impressive, despite the things that haven't been impressive in letting them do it in the first place. But their identity has been like, we're just going to keep doing what we do, lock down on defense, right? Up the tempo and aggression, and then they pull out these games. Like, it's happened every time, like, without fail.
Yeah, I keep saying I just want to see it. We're not going to see it, and that's a credit to the Celtics because they're just so much better and they're easily the best team in the NBA. But I just wanted to see the Celtics so bad tie game a minute left against the Mavericks, so just one time in this series. Like I just wanted to see it once, and we're never going to get it. But which is fine. I mean, Celtics.
Well, what happened? Boston was up 2 with a minute left. Who do they go to with a minute left? Jaylen Brown.
Was it 2? Was it 98-100?
Yeah, and then Jaylen Brown hit that pull-up mid-range to make it 102-98. So it's like we've got a little glimpse of it, like where you're going to go in that crunch time offense. Can't say I was shocked.
No. Well, we can get into it now.
It's
if
time.
You want. Yeah,
it's time.
We can get into it now if you want. But that was so impressive by Jaylen Brown, man. That was a tough shot. That was I don't think people are talking about how tough of a mid-range shot that was. And it was a killer. It was a killer. Also, that moving screen call was a disaster call by the official. Like the officials were a little wonky last night. Like I think it was fine overall. Like yeah, missed some calls, whatever. You can't make that call late in the fourth quarter. That was terrible.
Did you see Miles Turner get called for that against the Knicks? Like, sure, you can make that call.
Yeah, how much of the officiating tonight? Because I think it was a little like everyone's gonna be like Boston got called for more fouls and Dallas shot more free throws, but that doesn't tell the story of the officiating, right? I think it was a little bit on Boston's side last night. Like they had the more favorable whistle. How much of that do you guys think is the fact that they are sick and tired of Luka whining in their faces, like literally 24/7?
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think that does play a role. I think that definitely plays a role when Luka gets knocked down and then doesn't get back on defense in 10 seconds he's spent barking at the officials. That does play a role, but I think it's probably just the overall Boston favoritism that the NBA has in general. What do you think, Chase?
All right.
I asked because make some great point there. Huh?
Yeah. I was like, listen, didn't tell me. No, Windhurst was saying last night in his rant, he's like, they have been begging and pleading Luka here to like knock it off because he's hurting the team. And so I was wondering, like, is that a point? Like, the officials like, dude, we're just so sick of you.
It can't not play a factor. Like, it's not a factor. Like, it is definitely in the back of their minds, like, oh my God, I didn't call that. Here we go again.
Because there are a lot of times where Luka does, you're like, that was, like, I think he had a layup during the comeback where Tatum kind of nudged him and he, like, flew into the stands. And you're like, okay, that probably should have been called, but the way you've been complaining and whatnot, you're just not going to get that call. I think that's a great point, Chase. I think the officials made a point last night and said, Luka, we're not giving in. I wish these officials would do that in the regular season too. I just feel like in the regular season they're like, it doesn't matter, just give him the call. It's like a little kid, wanting McDonald's. We'll just get him a Happy Meal, whatever in the regular season. Like, no,
they're up 10 against the Raptors on Wednesday night. It's like I just don't want to hear this anymore. Like, let's just shut them up for the rest of the night.
I gotta fly to Charlotte tonight right after this game. Like I'm not dealing with it right now.
On a back to back.
Yeah, but like that would make the NBA so much more entertaining. This shows we don't have to abide by these stupid flops and the way these guys are, screwing the rest with guys like Chris Paul, Trae Young, Luka. It's so frustrating. James Harden. It's so frustrating, but yeah, I think that's a great point.
There was one play in particular, though. I don't know if y'all saw this. Tatum, I think it was a dunk, like kind of like a lay-in dunk type of play, and the official literally like half blew his whistle and like started raising his hand for a foul, and then Tatum made the shot and he put it down real quick and didn't call it. It's like it wasn't just completely one-sided. Like stuff like that really pisses me off because it's like no matter what, and so many officials do this, it's like, let's wait to see if he makes that basket, and that's reward enough. Like, I'm not going to call a foul if it goes in, because, like, he got rewarded with the made basket. That should never be how it is. But in basketball, honestly, at all levels, especially, like, high school, college level, like, stuff like that, that happens all the time. And it infuriates me. It infuriates me.
Yeah, I think people, like, refs are human, and you gotta work the relationships here, right? And you got
where's the robot refs? We need the robot refs, like the robot umps.
We need the umps. Well, like if you're a human being, I don't know if you guys ever like refed anything in your lives before.
Oh, I used to ref junior NBA basketball. I know.
Yeah, you get that kid you hate, and you're like, dude, I'm not calling crap for you because I hate you because you're being annoying.
Yeah, it's less the kid, more the coach / parent.
Right.
That's so true.
When I would. Because I refed a decent amount of games. Whenever the coach or parent would start barking, I'm like, all right, I don't get. Because I'm from third graders. I'm like, this game, everyone's double dribbling and traveling. Like I can't even. It's like, yeah. It's like I can't call anything. I should be blowing my whistle every 3 seconds. I'm just not doing that.
Carter's a dirty ref. He's taking bribes on the side for third games.
I got a cookout tray for you if little Timmy gets a foul call here. It's like,
Hey,
what?
I can get Jamal out of this game for the right price.
Jesus.
It's like, so I'm setting the line for these third graders at -7.5. You want in? It's like, what?
Dude, I got the neon green team. I'm all in on them. They have, yeah, they have an identity. But yeah, no, I think that's a great point about Luka. But let's talk about the fourth quarter stuff. Luka was terrible in the fourth quarter. He was awful. But Kyrie kind of carried him a little bit. But Jason Tatum, man. Jason Tatum was so bad. From 8:40 left in the third quarter on, Jason Tatum was a disaster in that game last night. First half, great. He was a solid player. He was balling, he was knocking down threes and whatnot.
He is still 4 for what, or 3 for 8 from 3 in the first half. Like, he was chucking
3
a
for
little
8's
bit.
not that bad though.
I guess. I just can't believe he shot 8 threes in the first half.
3 for 8 sounds so much worse than it actually is. You're like, I guess it's like 40%ish. Like,
And then he finished 4 for 13.
He did finish 4th or 13. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. But 8:40 left in the third. He scores 6 points and goes 2 of 9 from the field, multiple turnovers, had 1 or 2 assists. He was just terrible, especially in that fourth quarter. He was the main reason for that Mavs 21-point comeback because the Mavs defense was like, great, Jason Tatum's going to shoot. We're thrilled with that. Anybody but Jaylen Brown or Derek White can shoot, and we are so thrilled. And then it got to the point where Jason Tatum kept missing during that comeback. The home crowd's getting into it. The Mavs are rolling. And all of a sudden, Jason Tatum gets the ball, and it was a hot potato. He could not get rid of that ball fast enough in the fourth quarter. He wanted nothing to do with those plays. And that's when I struggle when we talk about Tatum as a superstar player. If you're a superstar, you want the ball in the biggest moments. You want the ball in the fourth quarter. You don't hide away from the ball in the fourth quarter. Gordon Hayward hides from the ball in the fourth quarter. Jason Tatum shouldn't. He should be the number one guy on this team. Chase, I texted you about this. I think why people are nitpicking and disappointed with Tatum in this series, yeah, they're going to sweep, and his stats on paper look awesome. The percentages are less awesome. But I think what people are going to be upset about Tatum about in this series is we all expected him to be the number one on this title team, and he just hasn't. Jaylen Brown's been the number one. And you could argue Tatum's been potentially the third best player on this team outside of Drew Holiday. Even Derek White stepped up. I think he's been better than Derek White. I think that's unfair. But because he's just asked to do way more than Derek White. But Jaylen Brown's been the number one guy. And I feel like Celtics fans are in this weird like catch-22 where they want the media to be like, no, Jason Tatum's – why aren't people talking about Tatum? I was like, you guys should be thrilled that who cares? Like, why does anybody, a Celtics fan, even care that people are dogging Tatum a little bit? I feel like this should just be a celebration of holy crap, Jaylen Brown's our guy. Like we finally have our guy, the closing moments, our number one go-to guy now. We've figured it out. We're gonna win a freaking title. We're gonna only lose what 3 games? 3 games? Yeah, 3 games. 16-3 in these playoffs, right?
If they lose
lose
one of the Mavs, that would be 3.
Yeah, 16-2. So that's the same as the 18 Warriors, right?
Is this who Jaylen Brown is, though? Are we confident? I don't want to stray away from the Tatum conversation, but is Jaylen Brown going to be this guy going forward, or did he just catch fire in the playoffs?
No, I think he's this guy.
I think he just
really,
from someone who's watched his entire career, like he got better and better and better. He's added more things to his bag, and this seems like the culmination of all that work. Like this is awesome stuff from Jaylen Brown, and I got to give him a huge shout out because those buckets were clutch. He had 3 like mid-range. He had that one on Kleber, Washington, and then there at the end, at the top. And those were the game, right? He cuts off the basket. He works hard on defense. Like, he's everything you want out of your number 2 when he's playing like a number 1.
And not to mention, too, the Celtics offense in the closing moments was get this ball to Jaylen Brown. It was get this ball to Jaylen Brown and maybe kick out to Derek White. Jason Tatum was not involved in those closing moments. They didn't want Tatum involved in those closing moments, it seemed like. And where I'll also say I think this is Jaylen Brown because he's kind of been doing this in these playoffs where in that Pacers series, I think was it game 1 where they went to overtime?
Yeah.
He hit that big 3 to send it to overtime. Like I think this is who he is. And now is his life a lot easier playing on the Celtics and opens things up? Like if he was on the Mavericks, would he be doing this? Probably not, but that doesn't matter. Who cares?
I think
I don't think it's how he is. Chase, I don't know if you think this. I don't think this is who Jaylen Brown is. I think next season we're going to see more of him being the number 2 and more of Tatum back as the number 1. I don't think this is all of a sudden Jaylen Brown's team because of this playoff run.
I don't think it's that. I think it's more so in the closing moments they're going to go to Jaylen Brown. I think we're going to see the exact same Celtics team. Like Tatum dominates in the regular season, but in the playoffs, I think Jaylen Brown's the one that steps up. I just think this is what we see again.
Well, to your point, Karter, I was going to say, like, if you're Jaylen Brown, could you be in a better situation? Because you get kind of like, you get to step up in these big moments, right? You get to make these big plays, but no one talks about you because we're all interested to see what Jason Tatum's going to do, right?
I agree.
Like, Brown had a horrible first half. He was so bad, but no one cares because, first off, it's how you close the game, right? And that matters. And that's why we're talking about Tatum, how he was so bad in the fourth. But also because we are focused on Tatum, right? And so, like, the egos and, like, what happens there next season is, like, we'll see, right? Maybe Jaylen Brown's like, I deserve more now. Look at me. I won Finals MVP and an East Conference MVP, blah, blah, blah. And Jason Tatum's like, no, this is my team. I'm the best. I sacrificed to get here. Right, exactly. But, like, if you're Jaylen Brown, right, you kind of live in, like, you're in Jason Tatum's shadow, but in, like, the best ways where the discourse is not about you. Right, you signed your contract, and that was a little like, oh, is he worth it? He's proving he's worth it, and he just kind of gets the ball now, do what he wants, while Jason Tatum gets all the criticism. So, like, saying he's like, this is his team, I don't think so. Like, I think it'll be Tatum's team as long as he's here, but Jaylen Brown's like just as much a part of it as anyone, and he's the reason they're winning.
And yeah, he's been the best player on the finals team, and that's why I'm upset with Tatum because he should be, no question, he should be this guy. And if you're a top 7-6 player in the league, you know that was a Bill Simmons thing, top 7.
It was.
But let's say you're top 5 player in the league, you're the number 1 guy on your team in the finals. There's no question about it. That's just how it is. If the Thunder were in the finals, SGA would be the best player, no questions asked. The Nuggets are in the finals. We saw last year, Jokic was the best player. Like Giannis, same thing. That's why I think. When Celtics fans are like, well, why doesn't Tatum get talked about in the same respect as these guys? This is why.
To be fair, he's not asked to do as much as these other guys, but there comes a certain point where it's like, if you're going to be in that conversation no matter what, even if your team's this good, you have to be the guy at the end of the game. It shouldn't be, hey, let me get rid of the ball every single possession when the game gets tight, you know, and everybody's buttholes clench up and Dallas makes this huge run and the crowd's going nuts and Patrick Mahomes is in your face, you know, pumping his fists, and you kind of sit there and you're like, oh my God, like they're going to come back and steal this game. And then it's a whole new series because Porzingis is out. If it's 2-1 heading back to Dallas for game 4, it's a whole new series. And in those moments, if you're going to be regarded as a top 5, top 6 player, like you said, you have to be the guy, for better or for worse, taking those shots, getting to the rim. And that's why speaking of Bill Simmons, I'll agree with one of his takes where he was like, Tatum's not a finished product. I think there is a little bit left to grow in those late game moments where it's like the mindset of, hey, I have to do this now. I need to get to the rim and try to finish strong and put the refs in a position to make a call instead of taking a step back 3 over PJ Washington and then relying on my teammates to bail me out. He can't be in that conversation as long as he does that.
The problem is, why would he change though if this result is working? Like he's going to win the finals.
There's no point. Yeah.
Yeah, if he's going to win the finals, taking these stupid step backs and not being efficient and not playing well in the fourth quarter, then why would he change? Like, what would make him step up? It's like it's literally like if you have a kid and they steal something, and then you're like, oh, you shouldn't do that. All right, well, here's a treat. Like the dog poops on the floor, and you're like, oh, that's a bad dog, and then you give him a treat. Like the dog's going to learn that he can poop on the floor.
Right, and they're winning handily. Like they're killing everyone. Right? He has no reason to change. That's a good point. But back to like when we started recording this at the beginning of the playoffs, and we hopped on here and we talked about that the whole time. We're like, I love the Celtics. It's just the fourth quarter offense. It's the fourth quarter offense. We've been talking about that for months now, and it showed last night. And Boston had done enough already to win the game, right? And they obviously did. But they're in after that timeout, after they went up 21, and then we saw Boston come out, and it was just ISO the whole time. I started getting freaked out. Like Dallas cut it to 17, and I was like, "Uh-oh!" Like I literally was like, "This is not good." Yeah. And of course, it gets to 2, and that was Tatum's fault, and that's what he does, right? And I've talked about it before. I hate when Tatum sits there at the top of the key. There's 7 seconds left of the shot clock. I'm like, he's shooting this, and my wife's like on the couch next to me. She's like, "How do you know?" I was like, "This is just what he does. He's not going to make it." She's like, "I thought he was good at shooting." I was like, "Not in these moments. Not right here."
I hesitate doing
not
this
when he makes his shots harder by just sitting there dancing, and when it's 3 seconds left, sidestep, fade away, it's 3. Like,
but what Connor was saying, when he goes to the basket, I love it because it's he either finds the right guy or he's at the hoop and he's got a much better chance. But he refuses to do that as soon as like the game gets.
There are
a
few times when he gets in his own head and he'll go up like weak or like look for a call and then not finish the rim. But the majority of him going to the basket, I want that over him taking a step back 3 any day of the week. The point I was going to make, and I hesitate doing this, Boston's gaping hole, like you said, all year, fourth quarter offense, late game execution, that has been their kind of Achilles heel throughout this historic run. Even a team as good as Boston, 64-18 in the regular season, 2 games lost in the playoffs so far, they still need a guy at the end of the quarter, at the end of the fourth quarter, an alpha who's like, all right, I'm taking the shot here. We're running this play for me, or I'm at least going to be the one with the ball in my hands to make a play. And everybody has to understand that. Boston has like a few of those guys I would trust like sometimes in that situation, but they don't have the one guy that I'm like, oh, into the game, I feel so comfortable with him having the ball in his hands. Yeah. And Jaylen Brown has morphed into that during this playoff run, and I never thought that would happen. But it should be Jason Tatum, and that is the problem everybody has is that was the whole thing with this Boston team is they're amazing, and they have a guy that's top 5 in the league in Jason Tatum that will lead them in the fourth quarter, which hasn't come to fruition in these big moments. So that's where the criticism comes from, and I think it's justified. If you're going to be in that conversation, it's almost like the Rudy Gobert Defensive Player of the Year stuff, where it's like, if you want to get all this praise, if you want to be in that conversation and get all this money and the Supermax and all this praise, you have to be held to a higher standard. And if you're Jason Tatum, supposedly number 1 on the best team in the league, you have to be held to a higher standard. And I hate doing that because they're such a great team and they're going to win a championship. But that conversation is going to be at the forefront of this summer every single time.
Yeah, 100%. And then when you go back and look at the stats, you're like, well, he had 31, 6, and 5. And you're just like, well, if you watch the second half,
the run. Yeah.
Yeah, watch the run. He was scared. You can't be scared in the finals. That's not superstars aren't scared in those moments. He was shook. They were the Mavs were. It was. I mean, if I'm a Celtics fan, I was getting Miami Heat flashbacks for how much Tatum was getting, how much the Mavs were getting in Tatum's head in that fourth quarter.
And
run.
Tatum was getting hunted on defense.
Tatum
was getting hunted on defense for a lot of this series. He has been in every action.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just frustrating.
I agree with you guys.
I would never say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I would never say that like I want to be on a worse team, but like Tatum being on this super team is like almost hurt him individually as a player. But I would obviously take this over being on like the Wizards or something. Yeah, but
like let's say Tatum and Brandon Ingram swap spots. I think Tatum's just going straight into that Brandon Ingram role where I'm taking 35 shots,
and nobody could blame him.
He probably averages like 30 points a game, right? Because
he would have to take 35 shots.
Yeah. No, it is frustrating because we look at Tatum, we look at the build, we look at the skills. Like he could be a top 3 guy for 10 years if he like had, I don't know what it is, like if he had the right mindset, if he was smarter with his offense and he just wasn't, like Carter said, like getting scared. It's like, it's tough to look at, but at the same time, you can't blame him because his team's so good, right? We're like, okay, stop taking dumb shots. And then it's like, he's passing and we're like, you're scared, right? And I'm not going to, like, he turned the ball over. He was bad. I'm not trying to defend his fourth quarter. It was awful. But he is caught in this limbo where it's like, what do you want me to do? It's like, well,
drive to the basket and effing score. That's what
exactly.
I want you to do.
Which is what we were saying.
I want you to be aggressive. I want you. You know who was aggressive? When Jaylen Brown got the ball, the Dallas defense was on their toes. When Jason Tatum got the ball, Luka was on his heels and be like, all right, I don't have to worry that much. Like even if he blows by me, he's not gonna. The help defender's gonna be there, and he's gonna try and do some stupid wraparound, jelly layup. Like just goes directly in. Like I don't know about you, Chase, but like if you're a Celtics fan, I don't know what changed from 2018 because. In 2018, he was that aggressive player in the fourth quarter, attacking effing 2018 Cavs LeBron James. Like, what happened to that player to where
the team's not as good back then?
What?
Period. He was asked to do more back then. The team wasn't as good. Yeah, I know,
but I don't understand where but him as an individual player, I don't understand where it's where he just became so much less aggressive. I don't know if it's like injury management or what. Like. He was so aggressive that rookie year, and maybe it's just more energy. I don't know what it is, and maybe it's just the fact that he was asked to do more, and now he's like, yeah, I don't have to do. Like, this Celtics team is the all-time. Well, if I don't have to do it, then I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah. You guys remember that bubble series where Boston played the Heat, and there was like, I think it was like game 3 or 4, where Tatum went for like the game tying dunk, and he got blocked by Bam.
Yes. Yeah, the
It was
Bam broke his wrist in the rim, it looked like.
Insane block. And this is me throwing crap against the wall. Maybe that was the turning point. Just Tatum's like,
You think that was like mentally like the nightmare play? Nightmare
he's like, that is
fuel?
not happening again. He's like, I'm not doing that crap again.
If I jelly around the backboard, then I don't have to get blocked like that again. No. The thing with Tatum, I don't know what to say, because it's almost like, it's funny enough you made the point, Carter. It's like, if I don't have to do it, then I'm not going to do it. It's almost like having this many talented guys around him. You can't fabricate pressure. You can't fabricate that kind of pressure on a superstar where it's like, if you're Embiid or if you're LeBron all these years, or I'm trying to think who else, like even Kevin Durant, some of those years he was on like the Thunder, you know that you are the guy and this team will live and die based on whether or not you make a play at the end of the game. Jason Tatum doesn't have that pressure. You can't fake it, because at the back of his mind, even if he's like, all right, I'm going to be the guy, I'm going to do this, the back of his mind, there's a safety net of, oh, Drew Holiday can do it. Jaylen Brown's got it.
Yep.
Derek White will hit this shot. Porzingis is over there. He can nail this shot. There's that safety blanket in the back of his mind where he's like, if I don't perform well, it doesn't mean we're cooked. Like some of these other superstars that are on their own team, they will live and die with how they play. Jason Tatum doesn't have that.
Yeah,
and that's a credit to the Celtics for being so good.
He's not kicking it out to Grant Williams and Marcus Smart anymore. No
Right.
offense to those guys. But yeah.
Right, exactly. You don't have Avery Bradley sitting over there in the corner. So it's like, you don't have to like be the only guy making a play. And in the back of his mind, I think that hurts his late game situations on this Boston team.
Yeah, it's too, like going back to that point where like if they don't have to do it, they won't. When the Celtics have gone up to like Jason Kidd calls that timeout whenever they're up 15 or 21 on these after these big runs. They're literally booking their flights to Cancun during that timeout. They're like, all right, let's get on Expedia right now. Let's see what we can do here. Let's get on Google Flights. Let's go to Cancun, because then they're just like, yeah, we're done. We don't have to do the rest of this game. And then all of a sudden they find themselves like, crap, we're down. It's a 4-point game all of a sudden. Like it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's a weird team. It's a weird team.
I've gotten to the point, guys, and I'll throw this out here just real quick before we stop the Tatum stuff. Like if I'm Jason Kidd, am I trying to employ like Boston's doing this with Luka, where they're like, let him have his shots for a little bit, let him have his shots. Like, am I just gonna do that with Jason Tatum? Right? I'm like, dude, please take 35 shots, please. Like, we'd rather you than pretty much anyone else on the starting 5 pull it from 3 right now. So like, just give it to him, and if he beats you, then that's fine. Like, whatever, you adjust. But I'm at the point, guys, with Jason Tatum that if I'm Jason Kidd, I'm like, we're gonna let this guy shoot, and we're gonna deal with the rest later, because it's not falling. It's not happening for him.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
I would almost rather him play like he did, because game 2 obviously hasn't shot well at all this series, game 1 or 2, but at least he was decisive and he had 12 assists. It's like, all right, at least you're getting to the basket and kicking the ball out and like being decisive with your decisions. I would rather him do that and only score 20 points than chuck up 30 shots and then score 30 off 30 shots. Like, there's a big difference in that, because you're hurting the team. Yeah. So, I don't know. Boston's good enough to withstand that. And, like, Tatum can go out there and shoot 40 times next game. I don't think it's going to matter. Like, Boston's still probably going to win in this series. But it does hurt him with, like, that many talented players around him. It hurts him individually and probably how he's going to be viewed in NBA history. Although, whenever they do win this title, it's going to be Jason Tatum, like, led the Boston Celtics to a title in the next, like, 10 years when we look back on it. When we remember this in 10, 15 years, we're going to be like, man, Tatum averaged 30 that year. He led the Celtics to a title.
Yeah, it's tricky because is it like the Spurs title in 14 where like they're like Tim Duncan led them to a title, but Kawhi Leonard won MVP.
Yeah. That's a good comparison.
Tatum also has like the assist numbers, right? He's averaging 8.7. So we're gonna look back at the stats in a while and be like, whoa. But the eye test tells us different.
You know what's going to happen? Those numbers are eerily similar. His finals averages are going to be eerily similar to like LeBron averages, where it's going to be like, oh, Tatum put up 25 and 8 and 7. Like, look what LeBron did these years in the finals. Like, they're the same. Like, why does this ring value more? And that revisionist history is going to hit like crack. I can't wait. I can't wait for the first take to be like, not first take the show. I can't wait for like the initial take where somebody's like, man, like Tatum's numbers are pretty similar to LeBron's in the finals. Like, what are we doing here? Like, are we sure Tatum's like this bad?
It's funny you say that, Connor, because I just saw a tweet. Tatum's finals averages over his career 27, 7, and 7. Only players better, Jokic and LeBron.
Really?
He's it, like, as far as finals numbers go, it's Jokic, him, and LeBron. Which, and I'm not saying, obviously, I'm with you guys. Like, I've watched the games. I'm not stupid. But, like, statistically, 20 years, it's kind of all we have. I mean, it's different now. We can go back on YouTube and watch all this
Can we
stuff.
also get shooting percentages when we get these stats?
Exactly.
No, we
Can
don't
we
need
get
that.
Can
We get the shooting
three-point
splits,
percentage?
bro.
Nice.
Well,
7
nobody's
to
going to be sitting there in
27.
20 years. Nobody's going to be sitting there in 20 years being like, man, that 6-minute stretch in game 3, fourth quarter for Tatum,
Exactly.
like that kind of slashes his legacy. No, it's going to be 27, 7, and 7. Like, this dude's amazing. He's top 10.
That kind of goes back to our point I think we talked about before we were recording. Like, no one gives an F Kobe shot 6 for 24 in Game 7 of the finals. No one cares.
Exactly.
No one cares. And that's where, like, Celtics fans should be like, yeah, I don't care what the national media says. Like, whatever. It's not going to bother me. We're the best team. We won a title in the easiest fashion ever. Like, we dominated. Absolutely dominated.
If this wasn't Boston, would they be getting this much pushback? Like it feels like a lesser team, lesser franchise. Would it be like, oh, this team is amazing, and not so much like slandering the superstar? Is it because it's Boston? I know it happened with like the Lakers too.
I was about to say, I think it's just a Boston Lakers thing.
Okay, because like that's the thing is like a lot of people aren't just like, man, this Boston team is great and amazing. The conversation has to inevitably shift to why is Tatum not the number one guy? Like him versus Brown, like yada yada yada. It's not the team's amazing. They're going to win a championship like it was last year.
Yeah, because because I just don't think that would. That's what happens when you're the Celtics or the Lakers. That's how you get talked about. You're gonna get talked about way more, and way more people hate you guys. It's kind of how it is. But last thing on the Tatum thing, you mentioned this too, Connor, where it's just that's the frustrating part too, is where Tatum is almost just getting away with playing horrible in the fourth quarter, and other superstars just flat out can't get away with playing terrible in the fourth quarter. If Luka plays terrible, the Mavs will lose. If Tatum plays terrible, it doesn't matter. The Celtics are so good around him, they still win. And there's a credit to the Celtics, but that's why Tatum's not going to get talked about in the same light as guys like Luka, Jokic, and Giannis.
But that goes back to the Celtics being such a great team and having 5-6 guys that you really trust like that. It's like I said, Tatum has that safety blanket behind him, whereas guys like, oh, I don't know, Jalen Brunson. If Jalen Brunson has a horrible fourth quarter, the Knicks aren't winning. If Joel Embiid has a horrible fourth quarter, the Sixers probably aren't winning. If I'm trying to think of other superstars, if Anthony Edwards has a terrible game, the Wolves probably aren't going to win a game. Like that's just how it is. And with Tatum, he almost gets penalized for having all these great guys behind him. And you got to try to find that line where it's like, yes, he can accept some criticism. Like, how much criticism is fair for Jason Tatum versus how much do we just need to appreciate how good this Boston team is? Because at the end of the day, it's not like he's going to the front office being like, don't pick up Drew Holiday. Like, that's going to cut into my production and that's going to take the narrative away from me. Like, don't pick up Drew Holiday. Maybe don't trade for Porzingis. Like, I want to keep taking 25, 30 shots. No, you want to play with the best guys. So I just want to find that line of, like, fair criticism versus just appreciating Boston's like roster construction, I guess.
Some players do that, Connor. I just think it's a little funny. The last thing I'll say, I just think it's a little funny. Like we penalize Tatum for winning, which doesn't make a lot of sense, right? He still wins, and I get what we're saying, right? He's bad. His team's so good around him, but it's like he's still winning. Like it's so funny. Where like if he wins these finals, it's almost worse for him than if he goes and loses them and plays better. And so that's just NBA discourse. That's just how it goes.
And it should never be that way. It should never be that way.
I think the immediate NBA discourse is going to say that, but like that's how it is because we see it. It's fresh, the eye test. But then we completely forget the eye test 2 days after the finals then, and we're going to be like, yeah, Jason Tatum, NBA champ. You know, that's how he's going to go down. So do we want to do the Tatum-Luka stuff, Chase, or do you want to save that?
We can save that. That's fine.
Okay.
I think we save that for after the Celtics inevitably win the finals, yeah.
All right, we can do that. We can save that. All right, anything else before we go then? Oh, real quick. We'll go. All of you go real quick. I just want to bring this up. Would it be the dumbest idea in the world for the Mavericks to sit Luka and Kyrie in Game 4 just to ruin the Boston narrative of of course, you know, they got the easiest finals path ever. Every single player got hurt along the way. Every single player in the series got hurt. I don't think it's the dumb. You know you're gonna lose at this point. Like maybe.
It's like Luka's back is really flaring up. Like Kyrie's ankles.
Luka
be so
has
petty.
8 broken ribs. He has a collapsed lung. Like
Luka's been playing with 8 broken ribs the entire series. So like asterisks on this Boston series.
He pretty much has a broken rib, and he's gonna wear a cast in the post game.
Yeah, he threw himself into the locker after they lost Game 3.
It's like, honestly, the fact that Kyrie's even able to walk after this is
Derrick
like
Jones
a
Jr.
miracle.
Punched him in the ribs.
Yeah, we just didn't want to leak it to take away from the team in the finals, but this is actually what happened.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
that's always
I
how
know
it
this is
goes.
the dumbest idea in the world, but
What are the odds
still-
that report comes out when the finals ends?
Oh,
Luka
Luka's
was actually
injury
hurt.
report. Oh, Luka's injuries are going to be magnified to a level we've never seen. It's going to be like
No.
he can barely breathe.
No.
Like he's in the locker room getting oxygen after the game.
No. It'll the report will come out and be like Luka pretty much. It'll be LeBron was the king of that. LeBron was the all-time king of that. After losing a finals, it was, LeBron actually
LeBron's hand is broken.
Yeah, LeBron pretty much has a broken hand after game 1 because he punched the board. Oh, LeBron pretty much played with torn ACL. He played without ACLs like he's DeJuan Blair. Oh, LeBron one's way, way worse.
Well,
Luka will come out and it'll be like, Luka was playing on a bum ankle and messed up ribs. I think
It's
that'll
the
come out.
classic. It's the classic. If this was the regular season, he would miss a month. And then you're like, okay, but it's not. It's the playoffs. You played 85 games. Like, this is just what it is.
Yeah.
That's funny.
What
I want
else
to
do you
note
have?
this. 34 days since Boston's lost a game. Does it feel like that, Chase? Does it feel that long to you? It's been over a month.
Well, we had 25 days off in between series.
True. You know what? That's true.
It hasn't, but that's a crazy stat. I mean, 10 in a row in the playoffs is impressive. I don't care who your opponent is. I know everyone's going to say it was easy.
I kind of care.
I don't
kinda
care.
who the opponent is.
Let's play a game called Who Can Pronounce Porzingis' Injury? Off the top of your head. Come on, guys. Surely you guys have it, right?
I couldn't even remember it off the top of my head.
I don't remember what
I wrote it down. You ready? I'm going to butcher the hell out of this. Torn medial retinaculum, allowing dislocation of the posterior tibialis tendon in his left leg.
I thought it was reticulum. No?
Retinaculum? It's spelled different
just
than
messing-
reticulum.
I'm
I
just
know the word reticulum. Come on now. Don't gaslight me. The thing with that is, there was a report. There was a 2006 study, so like it's 20 years ago. Only 32 documented cases in that 2006 study. That's the most Porzingis thing ever. It's like, there's 50 people in the entire world that have ever had this injury documented.
He is
But
a
Porzingis
unicorn.
gets it.
He's a unicorn.
Yeah, he is.
He's a medical marvel, but in the wrong way.
Yeah.
The
be studied.
funny, like the weirdest part was, I think it was like at the beginning of Game 3 last night. They had Lisa Salters doing like a side thing. She was, and it had the graphic of the foot, like what the injury was.
Oh my
and
God.
you just hear Lisa Salters, she's like, and it's the really big tendon, a really big tendon. Out the whole time I'm just like, it's a really big tendon, the biggest tendon we've ever seen.
Huge. Absolutely huge.
I've never seen it. I walked in here. I said, "Wow, that's a big tendon." Like that's all I could think about when Lisa Salters was doing it. She just kept calling it a really big tendon.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Well, I
You
have
know
one
what?
more thing.
Oh, I have another thing too. Chase, I can't wait for the Celtics fans. How mad they're gonna be. You guys have to win Game 4. You guys.
Why is that? You don't think
to
they
win Game 4?
You don't think they want to win in Boston?
No. Because if you guys win Game 4, Game 4 is on Friday, and therefore, if you guys win that, then the Lakers can't make that JJ Redick coaching hire on Saturday, because I guess then Monday is the First Take show. They're gonna lead with JJ Redick gets hired by the Lakers, and they're gonna steal the spotlight. But if the Celtics win Sunday, then it's fresh, and they kind of have to. I'm gonna catch 22 here, so I think.
Well, if they Game 5 wouldn't be till Monday.
Monday. So it's 2 days.
It would be Monday. Yeah.
Yeah. It would be Monday.
Okay, so yeah, but then they would announce the JJ news. So you guys actually kind of need to win. I don't know. This is tricky.
I'll say this. I would almost rather not be on First Take. I don't want to hear it from those guys.
Yeah.
Talk about the Lakers. I'll enjoy the chip.
Yeah, there you go. See, now you're maturing. Now you're like, why are they not talking about Jason Tatum being a superstar?
How many segments do we give it of like Boston praise for winning the title before it turns
One.
into is Jaylen Brown the guy over Jason Tatum? That's probably the B block, right? That's the second segment of the show. Like it's no more like, oh, Boston won the NBA championship. It's Tatum versus Brown. Like, who is Tatum? Is he top 5?
Dude, I really hope Tatum has like a disappointing celebration. And he's like kind of the funniest part is when he recreates the Kobe picture.
I'm begging him
That's
not
happening.
to.
He's
he's
doing
doing
it,
it.
Chase.
Jason,
He's-
please don't.
he's
Jason, if you can
gonna-
hear me, make your own pose. All right? The Kobe
There is-
thing's washed. Everyone's done it.
I think it's minus 1,000 odds that Jason Tatum's recreating the Kobe picture.
FanDuel's running a boost. Jason Tatum to recreate the Kobe picture and First Take to lead with Tatum versus Brown topic plus 300. So I might take that.
That's amazing odds.
I might fade it because I think J.J. Redick coaching hire is going to be the A block.
That's a good hedge. That's a good hedge to that bet.
Yeah. What else did you have, Connor?
Last thing I had. It's amazing how quickly the whole Luka and Kyrie at the best backcourt in NBA history topic just dissolved. Just vanished into thin air. I mean, like it never even happened. That was
terrible.
No, you know what that was? That was there's a week between conference finals and the finals, and we need something to talk about.
No. I think because, Stan Van Gundy kept running with that in, like, the second round.
Yeah, he did. Actually, yeah, you're right. He did.
Sure.
I think it's ridiculous. Like, that's so much recency bias where it's like, all right, they're playing awesome, but then Kyrie has a series like even a series against OKC wasn't awesome, and then we knew going into Boston he wasn't going to have a great series. Like, so let's calm down with that.
Did they ever? Did they ever watch LaMelo Ball or Terry Rozier? Like,
fair.
People were saying like best sidekick of all time. They're putting Kyrie in the top 5. It's like,
no,
I don't think so.
Jason Tatum's the best sidekick.
Oh, here we go. Run it up. The A block. Carter, we need you on first take right now. We need you to get up. You want to say that in front of
Get rid of Big Perk. Put Karter on.
Jason Tatum. You gotta stop.
Not on Disney's watch, Carter. No.
Yeah, Connor. I can't wait for Kendrick Perkins draft night.
There's gonna be some all-timers.
Rissachier, whatever his name is, the French guy. That is an atom bomb ready to drop. They tell Kendrick like, hey, we're not gonna. They don't even put him on like the main set. They put him on like one of those offsets where they have like Woj typically, because they're like, hey, we can't go to you during these French guys picks.
Yeah, like all of a sudden, like there's a pattern going on here. It's like everybody outside the U.S. Like I don't see Kendrick Perkins anywhere. It's like we'll just stick with you, Woj. Like Woj, take it from the top.
Yeah, so the Lakers are targeting Bronny James here with the 55th overall pick. I hate how they ruin the draft.
Do you guys see Shams come out and say he's throwing mad shade? He was just like, Danny Hurley was actually never really an option. He was like, Danny Hurley.
Well, that's what you have to do. You have to die on that hill. If you're Shams, you just have to act like that was never a thing, and Woj made it all up.
Is it bad that I somewhat agree with him?
Danny Hurley was never.
No, I think it was all a ploy. It was all a ploy.
Okay, I was about to say. I was like, I think this was all designed by Danny Hurley's agent.
They had to find that sweet spot where it's like, all right, here's enough money to make it look like we actually wanted him, and it's like a respectable number, but not enough money to make him actually consider it. Like you got to find that sweet spot.
Especially to leave a 3-time national champ.
But Simmons made a good point. Like the Lakers also just they made their hire cheaper too, because they've offered all this money. Now they can go lower. So we're not getting our number one guy.
Yeah, it's exactly. Like, Hurley commanded this much. Like, sorry, Redick, here's half that.
Also, he 6 years 50 isn't like an insane number he's getting from UConn.
No, but the Lakers, like, if you really wanted him, you were offering him 100. 6 years for 70. It was like,
you're the effing Lakers. You're going to make him the highest paid coach in the league, maybe behind Monty Williams. But like 5th and 6th highest paid coach in the league is like, it's almost like we'll take you if you want to come.
Yeah, right. I know. Anything else before we go?
Nah.
Connor, have you
Game 3?
Have you started draft prep?
Have I started draft prep? What? What? What kind of question is that? No. You think I'm watching G League film? I hope Stenko's done his homework because I have questions, not answers. I'll say that.
I started doing some draft prep. It's I think Dalton Connect should go 1-1.
No, here we go.
I think I finished my draft prep about the end of the second round last year. So,
yeah. There you go.
That's all I needed. Yeah.
The only draft prep I have is Bronny.
Oh gosh, 3 points per game. I bet he could turn that into 5 points per game.
Guys, I watched every Bronny bucket this season. It took me 5 minutes. All right, it wasn't long.
It was a YouTube short. Man. All right, that's it from us. Make sure to subscribe, cartercast.com, cartercast on all social media, at Chase_Rogers0, at Connor_Spare, at CarterB8. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, rate, review, like and subscribe on the YouTube. Download SeatGeek, go to SeatGeek.com for $20 off your first purchase. You could use code CarterCast, $50 minimum purchase required. Use code CarterCast at SeatGeek today. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's episode. And we'll be back right after the finals, inevitably when the Celtics win. And make sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.